What's up, everybody? My name is Brad and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here to talk about some books as per usual, and specifically today I want to talk about something that I talked about briefly in my reading plans and goals video for 2024, and it seems like I've got a lot of reading plans and goals for this year, so fingers crossed 2024 is a good reading year. I've got the Year of McCammon I want to do, I've got the Read What You Own challenge, I've got this one I'm going to talk about today, and probably a few more that I'm not thinking about right now off the top of my head. But I've got a lot I want to do this year reading wise, so hopefully we can get it all done. But today I want to talk about the big book project is what I'm calling it, that I'm going to try to do throughout the year for 2024. And what I mean by big book project is specifically I want to try to focus more on longer books this year. I have been reading a lot of like short stories and novellas and stuff, which has been great. But I do love a big, chunky, thick book. I just want to try to get back more into that this year. So I've got a goal of reading at least 10 books that are 500 pages or more. And if I can get to more, that would be awesome. But at least try to get to 10 500-page plus books throughout the year this year. I've already read one. I've got one done already, which I read in January, and that was The Reformatory by Tannen Reeve. So I've got 9 left. Checked one off the box already. This book was excellent, amazing, awesome. I'm not going to talk too much about some of these books because I've talked about them a lot in other videos. But I've got one checked off the list for the big book project. So I'm going to talk about some more I have that I'm planning to read or hoping to get to. So another one I've been talking about a lot recently that I'm currently in progress of reading, that is Swan Song. You're probably getting sick and tired of me talking about Swan Song. I started it in January. I'm like 400 something pages into it, so I'm slowly making my way through it. And I've got a couple other Robert McCammon books that I won't talk too much about since I mentioned them in the Year of McCammon video. And go check that out if you want to. I'm finishing up Swan Song this year, and then some other Robert McCammon books that were on that previous video that are over 500 pages. Stinger. Oh, and by the way, if you don't know, Swan Song is post-apocalyptic, nuclear war and the survivors of that. Stinger sounds like a creature feature set in a small Texas town. Sounds like a lot of fun. And then these are 2 books. It's actually one book split into 2 volumes, so I'm counting it as one big book. This is Speaks the Nightbird. This is book 1, split into 2 volumes of the Matthew Corbett series. It's like a historical horror fiction series, but I'm counting this as one book because it's 2 volumes and they're both 400 pages each, so 700-800 page book or so. This is Speaks the Nightbird. Volume 1 is Judgment of the Witch, and volume 2 is Evil Unveiled. So this is one book, another 500 plus page book for McCammon. So those are the McCammon books. Like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time on those since I talked about those the other day. But let's get into some books I haven't talked about yet. And this first one, I'm not sure if I want to read this one or not. You'll have to let me know if I should, because this is part of a series, and the series is not done yet. And it's been like 10 years since the last book came out. So I don't know if I want to get it started and then have to wait forever for the book to come out. So if I don't get to this one, I've got a substitute, which I'll talk about at the very end, because I don't have a physical copy of that one. But one I would like to read is Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is I don't know what the name of the series is, but the main character's name is Quoth, and it's a fantasy series. Book 2 is called Wise Man's Fear. Yeah, The Wise Man's Fear. And book 3 is supposed to be called like The Stone Door or something like that. I don't know for sure. But this sounds excellent. I've heard amazing things about it, that Rothfuss's writing is spectacular. But book 1 and 2 are out. Book 3, fans have been waiting like a decade for, and it's still not out yet. So I don't know if I want to start this yet without it having been finished and waiting who knows how long for book 3 to come out if I really enjoy this series. But I think book 1 is all about one day, and then book 2 is all about day 2, and then book 3 is about day 3. And I can't remember for sure. My buddy read this and loved it, but I think Quoth is a thief. I might be mistaken on that. And I think Quoth is sort of retelling like his adventures, and that's kind of what this story is about. Looks like it says, I have stolen princesses back from sleeping Barrow Kings. I burned down the town of Trebon. I've spent the night with Valorian and left with both my sanity and my life. I was expelled from the university at a younger age than most people are allowed in. I tread past by moonlight that others fear to speak of during day. I've talked to gods, loved women, and written songs that make the minstrels weep. So I think he's like a thief kind of bard. I'll quit reading there, but it's a fantasy novel. I've heard excellent things about it, so I might pick this one. You should let me know if you have read this. Should I go ahead and read it and not worry about book 3 coming out, or should I hold off? You'll have to let me know down in the comments if you've read that one. But another one I want to read, and this is a standalone, and I never did watch the TV show. The TV show looked cool, but I wanted to read the book first, as always. And this one is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. And this one, again, I don't really know much about, but I'm assuming this is like, if the Greek gods like Zeus and all them, but this is the American version, what gods we would have here in America if we had a different pantheon of gods. We'll read a little bit about this one, maybe, if it doesn't just talk about when it was published. Let's see. American Gods became an instant classic. It's the story of Shadow, released from prison just days after his wife and best friend are killed in an accident, who gets recruited to be a bodyguard, driver, and errand boy for the enigmatic trickster Mr. Wednesday. So begins Shadow's dark and strange road trip, one that introduces him to a host of eccentric characters whose fates are mysteriously intertwined with his own. For beneath the placid surface of everyday life, a storm is brewing, an epic war for the very soul of America, and Shadow is standing squarely in its path. So this one sounds fun, and I love this cover. I haven't seen this cover, but obviously on this one, but this is probably my favorite cover for this book. I love the cover on here. It's like a tall paperback. The shape of this one's weird. But American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I haven't read much Neil Gaiman. I've read the Graveyard Book and Coraline and maybe one other book. I can't remember. Something at the End of the Lane. House at the End of the Lane. House on the Lake at the End of the Lane. Something like that. But what I have read of him, I have really enjoyed. This is a big one from him, so I'm looking forward to this one. This one is Neil Gaiman's American Gods. And then we've got all these other ones are some hardbacks here. So this is part of a duology. Is it supposed to be a trilogy? I can't remember now. I think it is supposed to be a trilogy. But I read book 1 with Crystal from fiberartsy 2 years ago, and we were gonna do this book last year, and I just sucked and didn't really read it at all. I flaked on it pretty much, but I'm hoping that Crystal and I can get to it again this year and kick off the buddy read and actually finish the book. But this is Moon Witch Spider King by Marlon James, and that cover is awesome. Book 1 was Black Leopard Red Wolf, and this is like an African fantasy novel, and it's like the book 1 at least was the most brutal fantasy book I've ever read. It was super dark and just completely awesome. We were following a character in that one named Tracker, and he was hunting down like a boy, I think, if I remember correctly. And then the Black Leopard was like kind of his on and off again companion. They were kind of friends, but they kind of hated each other, and it went back and forth. But it went a lot into like African myth and folklore and everything like that. And it was an awesome read. It was brutal. It was a tough read, not because of the violence or anything, but just the way it was written was sort of hard to get into. It sort of has a cadence and flow to it. And what I did read of this one last year, I remember kind of was the same way. It took me a bit to start getting into the flow and rhythm of the book. But once I was able to do that, I loved it. It was awesome. At least book 1 was, and I'm guessing this one is going to be the same. I think this one is from the perspective of, I can't remember the character's name. It's like a witch character, and it's all from her perspective. I think maybe before book 1 started, and then going after that. But yeah, this one sounds awesome, and I hope to get to this one. So hopefully Crystal and I can set a time when we'll start buddy reading this one again together. This is Moon Witch Spider King by Marlon James. And then up next is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. I think I read somewhere like on a Goodreads list or whatever, this was kind of a cult book, which if so, that's exciting. I don't really know much about this one, so we're going to read a little bit of the synopsis and see what's going on. A young father and son set out on a road trip, devastated by the death of the wife and mother they both loved. United in grief, the pair travel to her ancestral home, where they must confront the terrifying legacy she has bequeathed. The woman they mourn came from a clan like no other, a centuries-old secret society called the Order that commits unspeakable acts in search of eternal life. We'll leave it at there. So that does kind of sound a bit cultish in a way. Other than that, like I said, I don't really know much about it. I've heard mixed things about this one. Some people loved it, and some people thought it was kind of a slog to get through, which I think I'm gonna love it. I don't really mind books that go into all these details and whatnot. I don't need a fast-paced book. If it's slow burn and awesome, that's fine with me. So I think I will quite enjoy this one. This one is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. I've got two other books left, and then kind of like the pitch hitter book if I don't end up reading Name of the Wind, which we'll talk about at the end. This one is next up, Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Again, this is another one I don't know much about, which I really don't know much about any of these, if I'm being honest, but they're all books that, for some reason or another, look interesting to me. What I remember about this one is they said it was kind of like a retelling of Tom Sawyer in a way. Let's see, David Copperfield is the name of the character, which that's an awesome character name. Demon Copperhead is a story of a boy born to a teenage single mother in a single wide trailer with no assets beyond his dead father's good looks and copper-colored hair, a caustic wit, and a fierce talent for survival. In a plot that never pauses for breath, relayed in his own unsparing voice, Demon braves the modern perils of foster care, child labor, derelict schools, athletic success, addiction, disastrous love, and crushing losses. We'll leave it at there. It looks like it's set in the mountains of southern Appalachia, which is, I think, the main reason I picked it up, because I knew it was set in Appalachia, and I love stories set there. And her other book I've heard of, The Poisonwood Bible, I've heard is also really good. It looks like this was a Pulitzer Prize winner and Oprah's book club, so it's got to be good, right? If it won a Pulitzer Prize and Oprah picked it for a book club, it's got to be a good book. But yeah, this one sounds awesome. Anything set in Appalachia, I'm instantly interested in. But this one is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. And then the final book I have actually here with me. This is one I was going to read 2 years ago or so and just never got around to it. So hopefully we'll get to it this year. This is Dune by Frank Herbert. I have seen the newer movie. The second movie looks really awesome. And this is about what house Arcadia? Is that how you call it? Araxis. Araxis is the name of the planet. And Paul Atreides. Arcadia was not right at all. Set on the desert planet Araxis, Dune is the story of the boy Paul Atreides. Now I can't remember how to say it. Atreides, heir to a noble family, tasked with ruling an inhospitable world where the only thing of value is spice, melange, a drug capable of extending life and enhancing consciousness. Coveted across the known universe, melange is a prize worth killing for. So I really enjoyed the first movie. I didn't really know what was going on, but it was awesome visually, and I did enjoy the story. So I'm hoping I get way more out of the book than I did the movie. I guess movie one, part 1 and 2, they're all part of this same book. I know there's a bunch of Dune books. I don't know how many there are in the Frank Herbert part. I think his son started writing books after he had passed away. But this is a sci-fi book I've been wanting to get to for a really, really long time. And 2024 is going to be the year for it. And this is a pretty edition. It's got these blue sprayed edges, and it's got awesome end pages on the inside, and looks like it's got awesome stuff under the dust jacket, which you don't really see artwork under the dust jacket too often. That looks pretty sick. And then the book, Fear is the Mind Killer. I don't know if that'll come through on camera or not. It's like embossed on there. It's a gorgeous book. I think this was like a Barnes & Noble special edition or whatnot. But yeah, Dune is one I've really been wanting to get to. And if I enjoy it, I want to continue on with the series for however many I should read. I know some people say you shouldn't read whichever ones of it, that they're not any good, but at least the couple, I think it was a trilogy originally, and then it expanded. So I really at least want to read the first couple Dune books. So if you know anything about Dune, anyone who's read anything knows way more about it than I do. Let me know if I should read all the Dune books or which ones I should read, what order I should read them in, because I have no idea what I'm talking about, as you can probably tell from this really rambly video. But Dune is one I definitely want to try to get to this year. And the final one that might take place of Name of the Wind, we'll see what happens. But either way, I definitely want to try to read this book. I don't have a physical copy yet. Once I've completed the Read What You Own challenge and I'm allowed to go buy books again, I'm going to treat myself by buying this book, and that is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. A lot of people recently that I kind of follow on Twitter and been talking to, some authors on paper cuts and whatnot, they've been reading Lonesome Dove fairly recently, and it's got me, the FOMO is real. I really want to check it out and see what it's all about. But it is a big, epic Western story. I really don't know anything about it. I don't have a synopsis to read off anything, but I know it's like one of the classic Western stories. A lot of it is probably the best Western, most popular Western of all time. And from what I've heard, it's pretty brutal and pretty violent. Pretty harsh look at what Western life was like back then, whenever it was set. I'm guessing like the 1800s is when I'm assuming the book is set, maybe early 1900s. But yeah, Lonesome Dove is one that's sort of been on my bucket list of books, and everyone else has been reading it sort of recently, so I'm going to read it too. But that's it. Those are all the books I have for my big book project, books over 500 pages I want to try and read this year. If you've read any of these, let me know what you thought about them down in the comments below. If you're planning to read any larger books, longer books this year, 500 plus or more pages, let me know what you're reading down in the comments as well. But that's it. That's all I have for you guys today. So thank you for spending your time with me on this long, rambly video. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.